And the topic that we had talked about was offered up through the listserv, and we were going to discuss, if I can go back. There we go. If you could structure your call center from the ground up. So this is our first listserv discussion. So let's maybe have an opportunity to discuss how you want to run this. Do you think that if a question's presented, we give everybody a few minutes to raise their hand, and then we could just start from the top and go down, and if you'll just say your name before you make your comment, we'll know where we are in the list. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great. Sure.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started. We'll just ask the first question. If you could structure your call center from the ground up, what do you think would be the first step?
All right, y'all, this is going to sound stupid, but I can't find the little raise the hand button. This is Jennifer Willis.
Oh, well, let me see, Jennifer. It should be. Let me see. Huh. Oh. Well, we're right there with you, Jennifer. So why don't we go ahead and I'm going to ask one of my colleagues here, he's a little more versed in using this, that I'll ask if there's an opportunity. Typically, there always is a place where you can raise your hand in these webinars. So I just don't know where that is, and I need to turn it on or what. So thank you for everybody's patience with this. So we'll master it the first time in our future conferences or best practice discussions will be a little smoother. So right now, Jennifer, why don't you, if you are trying to raise your hand, we know you're ready to talk, why don't you get us started?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm from Campus Credit Union in Gainesville, Florida, and I was actually the call center nerd that wanted to try this. Thank you, Amy. Saved my butt. We had such a good response. But my new COO has asked if I could restructure my call center any way I want, what would I do? To me, complications that come into that we are very incentive structured. So right now it's an even playing field. Everyone does loans, everyone does member services, the calls come in, you get what you get. Now, obviously, some people are not quite as good as loans, or perhaps don't want, the pressure of the loans and only want to do member services. How are you guys structured? Do you feel that being universal agents is better? Would you separate your call centers and do, loans on one side, member services on other? Just to hear y'all's pros and cons.
Well, this is Kim, and I'm from the IBM Southeast Employees Federal Credit Union. Currently, right now, our main call center, which is the one that I'm the manager over, we do calls and card services calls, any of the online banking and Apple Pay issues, that's us. We have a separate call center for the loan department that handles all the loan calls. We do refer products, which my team's incented on, and we also have application incentives where one of the referrals turns into an application, my agents get incented. But it tends to help us out a lot that we keep them separated, because taking an application and going through all the loan processing, it can take a lot of time and keep the agents off the phone. So this allows us to be able to assist with member calls versus having to spend a lot of our time in off processing loans.
Kim, may I ask if you guys are incented? Is there resentment on either side, or they're hired in knowing what they are, and so it's it's just the way it is?
When I go through my interview process, that's one of the things that I mention, is that it's incented and they know what it is when they're coming through the door.
Okay, wonderful. And I agree with that. These are all these things that I'm thinking. Does anyone have an opinion for preferring to stay the universal side? All right.
Go ahead.
Sorry, this is Steve over at Widget Financial. Our current structure is that all of our contacts are cross-trained on loans, member service, and to a certain degree handle card service inquiries as well. While we found that useful, because no matter who you talk to, you get a similar level of training and experience. Some of the difficulties that we've run into are just what was alluded to previously, that taking loan applications does take people away from phone calls. As a result of that, perhaps we're not as productive overall in terms of answering a large number of calls as we possibly could be.
Okay. And there was somebody else that was wanting to talk?
Yes, this is Mari at American Eagle Financial Credit Union. One of the things that we find, and we don't have any lending in our area just yet, it's done by a different department, but we are a small call center. So the thing I worry about specializing is that if one or two people only can specialize in something and they're out, and as a small call center, you've got nobody to cover for them. So when you've got, under 20 people, you don't really have that same sort of opportunity for truly skill-based. So that would be my concern. And I'm actually doing the same thing for my COO that Jennifer is, and that's if I could have my dream reorg, what would it be? So this was perfect timing.
Okay, so you're leaning a little bit more towards universal simply to not have the weakness on any one side?
Right. I mean, as we grow, I definitely want to do the skill-based. I don't even have a call center software right now. So as we do that, that's one of my goals, is to have, maybe a rep 1 or a rep 2. But I don't want there to be too much of a silo situation where if, you only have 2 or 3 specialists and they all happen to be away or busy, then what happens?
Right.
And that's one of the big issues with a smaller center.
Anyone else?
This is Bryn from Wacom Education Credit Union in Bellingham. How big is your call center when you say small?
Right now I've got 13 reps and 2 supervisors and myself. So we're pretty small, and we've got 3 loan phone center folks over in a whole other area that we started over with us, but the lending folks wanted them back and to use them for other things, not just loan phone center. So we'd like to sort of revisit that and bring them over, and then that would bring, again, my dream call center would have, QA people, training people, and lending people all under me as well.
That's about the same size as the call center at Campus USA. We may have about 15 people, which leads me also to another question, and y'all tell me to hush if you want to stay on the Agent Universal topic. We have myself as a manager, and we have 2, they're called supervisors. And right now we have a small conflict where they do every single thing at a branch does. Every single thing, if not more. Call centers, you guys know, we have to know more than a lot of the branches. But upstairs, on senior management, they're considered really only team leaders, which I think does them a disservice, and they have 6 employees each that report to them. We take almost probably between 18 and 20,000 calls a month. That sound about, with maybe 14 or 15 people, kind of the same ratio that a lot of you guys have?
For Bryn at Wacom Educational Credit Union, that's pretty much exactly ours. We have 14, including myself, the manager, my assistant, and my lead. So, and 2 part-time.
Gotcha.
Hi, this is Darlene from First Financial Credit Union, and we're about the same. We're universal. All our reps take a call. If they have more in-depth questions, then we do refer them maybe to somebody in our lending center. but we pretty much handle the call as they come in, each call.
So you don't take loans?
We do take loan applications, but if the call gets more in depth in regards to a loan question that maybe my rep isn't trained on or what have you, then they will refer the call to maybe somebody with more lending experience, but they do take loan applications.
So they just don't do the processing through?
Correct.
Okay.
How do you guys incent if we were to structure kind of rep 1, rep 2, or perhaps, like you said, you have loan agents and then they go perhaps to someone more specialized? How would you handle if you do incent your agents? That would be a big problem on our end because it would completely take away the level playing field. And I've been given carte blanche to, figure out an incentive program. They try very hard not to make it more complicated, and I feel that making it not universal would make it more complicated, but would perhaps make the call center run a little more smoothly.
Well, actually, they get incentive for if they sell like a mechanical breakdown, like additional products for the loans. But that's where they kind of struggle and get in a little bit more, how can I say it, more knowledge, and because they don't come across us very often, so they struggle a little bit with that. But basically, with just the loans, they just take the application, assist with loan questions in general, to like rates and such.
Okay.
Hi, this is Josh from Heritage Family Credit Union in Vermont, and so what we typically do is all of our call center reps, from our lead reps, we do have 2 leads, and it's a team of 9, and we actually we give them the same incentive sheet that an FSR would have. The only difference is, the only thing that they don't have the ability to do is mortgage applications and business loans. Other than that, they fill out their incentive sheet the same way that an FSR would, and we also do incentives for our tellers, for referrals and originations and adding, different services to the members' portfolio, and they get double the incentive because of the nature of the task. But as far as our call center goes, we're right in line with our FSRs.
This is Jennifer again, and we're the same pretty much in the call center, except they get some incentive on phones a little bit, and the branches, of course, have new accounts where we're not doing anything online with that yet. For you guys that have team leads or assistant manager type roles, in our credit union, we find that, of course, we're answering so many questions all day just based on the volume, and we handle so many different things. Do you guys require the exact same production level from your supervisors or leads that you do from your staff?
This is Kim again. I have a team leader and 2 seniors. We do not. The team leader and the seniors, because they are answering questions and taking escalated calls and doing other duties, their goal is set a little bit lower than the regular agents are. So we do, and we tier it out. So it's like tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 on the incentive plan. The higher the tier, the more money they make, but their goals to reach those different tiers are lower.
Yeah, ours is the same. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. May I ask if that's the same at your branches? For instance, our branches, the assistant managers are pretty much required to do everything that all the rest of the branches, but their volume of constant questions, of course, isn't quite as high as the call center. At the branches, do the assistant managers have to do as much as all the reps?
Their goals are the same. It's their incentives. They're paid the same on the different tier levels, but their goals are driven by their branch performance. So if they have a smaller branch, because we have some branches that may have 1 or 2 people in it, and then we have some branches that have 10. So it's based on their branch size, what their referral or incentive goal would be. So some of theirs might be lower than the other people doing the same thing that they're doing. It's based on their branch.
Based on their branches, but if all the people within one branch, are those assistant managers kind of expected to carry the same loan load as their regular FSRs?
No, they're just like with my team leaders, they're a little bit lower on the poll than everybody else. They don't have to reach as many.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Because they are busy having to assist.
Does everybody else find that to be the same or different? Okay, let me try to rephrase. At the regular branches outside of your call center, are your assistant managers required to produce the same amount as their FSRs?
Hello, this is Janice from Kootenai Savings Credit Union in Trail, BC. Our assistant managers are not required. They're spending their time coaching and managing rather than selling.
Anyone else the same, different?
This is Angelo at APG, Federal Credit Union, and we have our managers take some of the goals in the branch only when they're short-staffed. Besides that, the manager and the assistant spend all their time coaching, training, problem solving, and whatnot. They only get a goal if the branch is short-staffed.
Gotcha, and that's, to me, makes perfect sense, which is one of the ways I would want to restructure. Anybody that's different, they are required to take the same. I'd be curious if there's, you know, which way there's the more leaning towards not having the same goals, or yes, they have the same goals.
This is Mari again at American Eagle. We have in our branches, the managers and assistant managers spend the majority of their time coaching the employees, but they do also have a referral sales and a sales goal that they have to deal with, whereas my two supervisors here in the contact center, all of their goals are pretty much based on how their employees do and their coaching aspect, and they will take calls every now and then, but they don't have any referral sales goals, if that helps.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. I think there's constant coaching in the call center. There's no, in our area, we do loans, debit cards, credit cards, all the basic maintenance, problem solving, of course, tech support, which is becoming such a huge pain in the butt, quite frankly. There's so much constant knowledge to know. There's no way my staff's going to remember everything that they get a question on and handle it. So they're always problem solving. I'm struggling right now. They're held to the same standards kind of as the rest of the staff. And there's some morale issues because it's simply, you know, either you don't help your staff and coach your team or you hit your goal. It's difficult to do both.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense to do both. I mean, in the perfect world, I think I would have a team lead which would do more projects and phone call taking and loans and all that and help with projects. But the supervisors, it's the main job is coaching.
How do y'all have your ratio of employees to team leaders or supervisors? I'd be curious to know how you have it, and then also the volume in your call center. Perhaps if there's more volume, do you have less agents, or does it seem always about the same, you know, 5 team members to the same supervisor? My supervisor each has 6 employees, and like I said, we take between 18 and 20,000 interactions a month.
I can say that we have, because we have the 13 reps, I have one supervisor who has 6 direct reports and another has 7, and half of our 13 are part-timers, and we take about 17,000 calls a month, more on the 15 to 16,000 on average, but recently it's been 17,000.
Right. And do y'all do loans as well?
We do not. This is American Eagle, so we have the 3 others who do loans elsewhere, but we do. Most of our time is spent on the tech support with online, mobile banking, bill pay, all of that, and then debit cards, Visa cards are probably the 2 things that take most of their time.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. Anyone else?
This is Angelo.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, go ahead, Angelo. I can wait.
We are actually down a branch manager in our call center. We normally have 3 managers, 2 team leads, and then each of the managers oversees between 8 and 9 people. And we take about 32,000 calls a month. And we're trying to actually restructure that now because I think that we have too many managers and not enough folks kind of out and helping people, because our branch managers are responsible for all of the reviews and whatnot, so it's really hard for them to get out and do coaching and training. So we're trying to do some restructuring of the top of the department, but that's how we are. They each handle about 8 or 9 folks, which is a lot on them.
How many reps do you have?
Our FTE is 29 and a half. So total reps on the phone is about 19. Because we do also have, employees that are back office / e-services, that one of the managers oversees them as well, and they take all of the internet inquiries, online banking inquiries. We do all the troubleshooting. We have universal agents that pretty much do everything.
And they do loans too?
Yes, our scorecard has a loan section as well as a service section where they are scored on everything from call availability and call monitoring to loans, memberships, visas, mortgages. We're very scorecard heavy. And they all have the same job, yes, besides our back office team. Back office does a lot of the paperwork and dealing with member issues through the non-face-to-face channel, like with the internet.
When you say scorecards, is it one that you would be willing to share with us?
Sure, I could send it to you guys. It has a sales portion where they get a separate sales score, and then there is a service section where they get a separate service score. So every month they're scorecarded on both areas, and they're expected to hit a 3.0 out of 5 in each area to be in good standing, if you will. And I'm running into some of the same issues that you all are, where I have people that are expected to do everything and know everything. And as you know, when you're building a relationship and selling something, you're spending more time on the phone. So your calls per hour may be down, and that's something that's on the scorecard on the service side. So it's finding that balance of having folks that are successful in both areas, and we've been doing a lot of tweaking of our scorecard. So it's certainly not an exact science.
What are you expecting from your reps in terms of calls per hour?
To meet expectations now, it's 8. Because they do take, like I said, they may get a deposit inquiry where someone wants a balance and it's a 20-second call, but then they may take a loan application that's a 20-minute call. So,
or online banking call that takes an hour.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Sorry?
I'm there.
Angelo, how many calls are you taking a month?
It's about 30,000.
Do your reps also handle like web form submissions and emails, or like online banking and mobile banking messages?
Our back office team handles that. Anyone that contacts us through the website or through online banking comes to the back office team. And they are not on the phones handling calls unless we really peak and have a high call volume and we need to pull them from other duties. But their main job function is to attend to those folks. So any of the information that they get or any of the requests they get via online banking or through the internet, they deal with that. But they do also any of the cross-account access forms that come through on the branches and whatnot. We handle all of that stuff on the back office side, and there's 3 of those folks.
So they're doing like processing in terms of the maintenance of your cards program and your online banking and handling the forms as they come in?
Yes, any of the stuff that comes through the phone that's involved with online banking, we try to transfer it over to them if it's something that can't be handled quickly. All of our agents have access to our software where they can reset passwords and security questions and whatnot, but if it's something where there's a browser issue or more in depth, then we try to get it over to that back office team.
Okay.
When you talk about calls per hour, I'm so sorry, go ahead. Okay. When you talk about calls per hour. I've noticed a thread that was going on yesterday. We very much, because to some extent, I feel like on a staffing state or staffing situation, I don't have tons of flexibility. You know, I'm given the people that I've given and they work 8 hours a day. It's not necessarily their fault if calls peak because Publix, you know, ATMs go down or something else. So I require not per hour, but I want them to be available between 75 and 85% is in my perfect world. If they're here and the phones are turned on, out of that block of time, I want them available 75 to 85%. They're either taking calls or they're waiting for a call. That way there's a little less, I'm going to waste time working on this paperwork and turn my phone off, and more time trying to take the calls that they can, but not holding them responsible for the fact that something's broken, we're getting 100 calls, and I can't fuss at them for not taking so many calls within 30 seconds because we are limited staff. That's what we have. It's static. It's not going to change. Anyone else?
This is Angelo again. We also have availability on that service part of our scorecard. Their availability, their calls per hour, and then their call monitorings, the listenings that we do for quality. Those are the three pieces. So yeah, we look at that too. Our goal is 74%.
Are you both using an auto dialer wherein, you know, they don't have control over whether or not the phone's going to pick up? It's just they're available. It's going to answer for them?
My agents can turn their phone on and off, available in the queue, not in the queue if they have to work on a project, go to the restroom, do whatever. They take the call, they have a 10-second wrap up, and then the next call comes in. And they can click themselves out of that wrap if they no longer need it. Am I answering the right question?
This is Angelo again. Ours is the same way. We have I think it's a 5-second wrap up though. We give them a little less time, but yeah, they can go unavailable after work. We also keep them signed in for lunch so that we can see how long they're out of the building for lunch. So that's why our availability is a little bit lower, because we do require them to stay technically in the system.
Angelo, what phone system do you have?
Right now we have a Siemens phone system, and we use HiPath Pro, but we're getting ready to switch over to Adapt. The kickoff is in July, and I can't wait until that happens.
We had Adapt and for interactive intelligence, and there were problems with it, but oh, we loved it. We switched over to ShoreTel, and I know ShoreTel is less expensive, but I wish we hadn't done it.
Yeah, we're on ShoreTel right now, and but we don't have a call center solution, and we're ready we're looking at Adapt, but we're also looking at some other cloud-based like Genesis, and there's some interesting things that they're offering that even interactive intelligence didn't offer all in one package.
Next month, we're going to Link and Enghouse.
The system that we have now is so antiquated that we have to manually calculate what our abandon rate is, because the reporting isn't sophisticated enough to back off the folks that bail on a call within 15 seconds. It can't do the calculation, so we have to manually figure out abandon rates. It's very easy for the callers to opt out and go into just 2 of the queues. So skill basing people is pretty much out the window with what we have. So I cannot wait for Adapt to come, to have more reporting and more just control of what we're able to do and how we can send calls to individuals.
Yeah, we're exactly the same way, and we have a 10-second wrap-up, and they can log in or out at any time, and we try to do an 80% availability, but it's all manual tracking that we're doing. We have nothing that helps us with any of it, so it's all manual.
Wow.
And my managers are Excel because that's where they track everything.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that we added this year, I've had a couple of emails on it, and I had sent one out maybe asking for job descriptions. The last 2 years, from 2013 to 2014 and from 2014 to 2015, or however it worked, we have literally gone up in attempted calls, because they certainly weren't all answered, over 20,000 calls a year. I have no idea why it jumped so crazy, but it did. And I got, like 1.5 people. But so they did let me hire a processor, because we are universal agents. We do everything from a signature loan, a credit card, up to home equities. And this processor now is basically my rep has to do the loan, work the loan, approve it, arrange the closing dates, require the income verification, whatever. But then my processor creates all the loan docs, emails on e-sign as much as we can back and forth to our members. If they have to go to a branch, you know, or by mail, we try to do that. That has helped keep my reps on the phone, and our abandon rate has definitely gone down, even as we're again continuing to go up in volume.
We have a similar position here at APG as well. That one of our call reps is a fulfillment specialist, and she only jumps on the phone at peak times, but her main job is to follow up on approved not issued loans, get the documentation, and then handle them or disperse them via DocuSign if at all possible. And that's worked out great for us too. We're actually, she was part of a pilot program for that we are actually rolling out to our entire credit union so that we have a fulfillment department, hopefully within the next couple of months.
That's awesome. Our outbound department is trying now that I have a processor, wants to get a processor themselves because they do as much more volume per person, but it's all loans, not transfers and things like that. And their boss kind of denied it. And the idea of maybe adding in, calling back on those approved not dispersed loans might make it more appealing for them.
We have a loan goal anywhere between $3 to $4 million a month in our call center. And she single-handedly, well, I don't want to say single-handedly disperses, but she disperses a large chunk of all of that, which allows the reps to stay on the phone and keep getting more applications.
Exactly. We're not quite that high. We're not tracked by dollars as much as we are by individual numbers of products. But again, it's the same way. She has helped so much. If anybody's restructuring their department, I would massively recommend some type of processor or fulfillment person for sure.
Yeah, I would second that. It's helped us tremendously. Our ABNI loans out the door went from about a 60-some% issue ratio to over 90%.
Wow. But you're also having them call on loans not dispersed and stuff.
She will follow up on the approved not issued as well. A normal routine would be to take all the loans that were approved the previous day. If our LOs didn't call them or couldn't get to them, she'll touch base with those folks, tell them what the steps are, the conditions of the loan, and then try to get email addresses so that we can use DocuSign if we don't have them, and she basically goes through the whole closing process. I mean, there's still a portion of our loans that still walk into a branch, so she's not doing all of them, but a pretty hefty percentage of them.
Do you guys all deal with call center versus branch? Okay, only one
Yes,
left.
we do here.
Oh, it's massive. They hate to touch our loans because, I don't know, because they hate to touch our loans because it's not their branch's incentive.
I think more here at APG, it's a healthy competition. I think there's certainly a friendly relationship and a friendly camaraderie that they have with each other, but they certainly, if something goes wrong on either end, they certainly like to call each other and let each other know about it. But it's
oh yeah, definitely.
It's all in good fun, though. There's not like an actual dislike or anything.
Oh, if they like personally, they dislike branch-wise for sure.
I'm just curious if anyone transfers loans to the branch.
No.
No, and so pardon?
Only if they request a specific person at that branch.
Okay.
Then no, we don't.
Hi, this is Sue from Community First Credit Union, and we do use the branch's overflow. So when the lenders are all on the phones or busy with application, our lender group, we do have a queue that we can reach people who sign into the lenders who sign into the branch, which works quite effectively.
So you kind of use the branch lenders as part of the, like an extension of the service center?
As it calls, yes. On lending only.
Okay.
So I have a service team and a lending team, so we split it 2 ways.
So do those lenders actually take calls in the lending queue, or do you just send them the processing?
They take calls in the lending queue as well as do the web application.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Allison at IH.
I'm sorry, Allison.
And we do actually transfer. We don't do loans in our call center, so anytime we do get a loan application, we will transfer it to a hunt group with FSOs. A lot of time we don't have success, so then we turn it into an email to them, and then they get back to the member.
Thank you. Does everyone book appointments for lenders in the branches if the member calls and wants to go into the branch?
We do not book appointments.
This is Lisa from St. Mary's Bank. We do. We have a 4-hour window of time frame. We can't make it. We give them 4 hours, but we do all the paperwork, and they just have to print it and make the appointment. So Saturdays are a first come, first served basis, and then Monday through Friday we can set up time slots for them.
Yeah, at American Eagle, we do the same thing with our loan phone center. Takes the app and does everything they can through a secured site. But if the member wants to, they can go into the branch to close. But everything's done for the branch employee, paperwork-wise.
Okay.
This is Angelo at APG. We do the same thing as well. We have a calendar that we can go in and check each individual branch to find out if they have appointments. There's certain criteria built around how we can schedule the appointment for the member, like we don't send them during lunch and on Saturdays, but we do that as well.
Excellent. Does anyone else have like a decentralized model where they have remote lenders in the branches that work for the service center?
This is Steve from Widget. We actually currently have a relatively small call center, and I am curious, I hear people say small call center and then say they have 15, 20 reps. I'm curious as to what, your asset size is. We're about $250 million. I have 5 people in the call center, all of whom do loans, and all of whom answer online banking, mobile banking messages, emails, and support card service as well. We use our branch as overflow. So, if everyone's busy in the call center, those calls immediately flow over to queues that ring to the branch representatives as well.
This is Jennifer. As far as asset size, we have, like I said, myself, 2 team leads, and they each have 6. So let's say 14 people, because I'm only on the phone to back people up, and I work 1 or 2 Saturdays a month. We are a $1 billion credit union and take about 18 to 20,000 interactions with chat and email per month, and then we do probably somewhere between 2.5 million, probably 2.5 million to 3 now in loans per month.
To the first gentleman who spoke, how many calls do your 5 people get, or does it include the branch? How many calls a month are you getting?
In terms of inbound calls total, we're between 7,000 and 8,000 a month. But as I said, our call center reps are also responsible for online banking and mobile banking messages, as well as back office tickets. So we have an after hours answering service, and so they handle those tickets as well. So when I do their call stats, I'm including, their outbound calls, which is presumably follow up from those tickets, as well as any loans they might be working on.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So is anyone finding?
What was that?
Wait.
I think we all jumped in at the same time.
Yeah,
I have a quick question I wanted to pose to everybody. This is Angelo at APG. One of the things that I had mentioned earlier is that we're looking to restructure our management team. I am the AVP of the call center, and like I said, there are 3 managers under me, then 2 team leads. Like I said, we handle about 30,000 calls a month. Our asset size is, we just hit $1 billion. So anyone that's similar asset size or call volume to us, if you could tell me how your management team is set up, I would like to hear from a couple folks, if at all possible. Please.
Hi, Steve. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Angelo, how many members do you have?
112,000.
Okay, because I really think the number of members is probably just as important as our asset size, because I really think then it kind of gives you a ratio from that perspective. So if anybody would share that going down the road, I think that's really helpful too.
Good point. Thank you.
Hey, Steve, this is Sue from Community First Credit Union. We have 115,000 members. Okay, our asset size is over $2 billion. We have, I'm the AVP of the contact center. I have one manager, 2 team leads. I was very interested in this conversation because we also need to restructure and add some mid-level in between there. So I'd also be interested in that information. And we take about 45,000 calls a month. But that being said, we don't have an automated attendant. We answer by a live person, so we staff heavy here for that.
If everyone, I know we're recording this and we can kind of go back and listen to it, but if everyone wants to email me, this is Jennifer Willis again, and I'll give you my email. Your name, position, asset size, if you're universal agents or not, how many members you have, how many calls you take, and how your call center is structured. I am fascinated enough by this that I will compile a list and send it to Amy to post or to get back to you guys however you want.
That would be great.
That would be great. That's a great idea.
Under the little chat button, I'll put my little list of things that we want to include, and if somebody needs me to change it, let me know. You guys are awesome.
Hi, this is
You're
Lori.
doing all the work for us. You're awesome.
Hi, this is Lori Forrester with the Indiana University Credit Union in Bloomington, Indiana. We're about an $800 million credit union. We have about 65,000 members. We take, on average, probably 11,000 calls per month. We have one phone manager. We also take branch calls as well. So we're kind of a back office. Branch call is one side of our room. We actually then take member calls on the other side, as well as handling the emails coming through. I'm really curious, I think from our perspective, one thing that we're finding very challenging and what we're trying to do is come up with a training program. We don't take loans, full bore loans. We do take credit cards over the phone, applications, but we do answer every other question that could possibly come in. And what we're struggling with, I guess, is from a training perspective, what kind of training program that you're sending your reps through, not even maybe out of the gate when you first hire them, but also, just ongoing. Because, for example, we have 2 open positions right now, and no one internally wants to apply for them because the call center is a tough place to work. They're not going to make any more money than any place else. In fact, they'll probably make less. And really the only benefit that we can offer them is that we do work on a flex schedule. So they do work 4 9-hour days with a half a day off unless they work Saturday, and then they get a full day off. But even that has an impact from a scheduling standpoint. So I would really like to hear what people are doing from a training perspective.
And to add to what Lori just said, is anybody doing anything interesting with job titles to make recruiting a little bit easier when you do post those types of jobs internally, make working in the contact center a little more desirable?
This is American Eagle again. For us, we actually have our call center reps are almost at the same level, not quite as an assistant branch manager, but they're fairly high because they have to know so much. So they actually do get a higher pay, and that's one of the things that may change if we structure it. But to Lori's question too, we also really struggle with training. We have, external folks coming in are trained on our core system, but the majority of the training for the contact center is one-on-one down here with our reps and myself and my supervisors. And we've just created a training program, but with no help from our training department, which is a pretty decent department. So I want to change that.
We have a core training program here at APG that all the call center reps go through. It's about 21 days when you get hired of training between learning the teller side, learning our lending software, and then learning all of, I guess, the account maintenance software that they're going to use. And then once they actually get into the call center, there is a 3 to 4 day specific call center training that either myself, one of the managers, or one of the team leads administers along with their OJT. As far as job titles, we haven't changed anything to make them fancier or more appealing, if you will.
This is Jennifer at campus. Up until the last maybe 18 months, our call center agents did get paid a little bit more than our frontline MSRs because, like everybody knows, we have to know more in here. The volume is generally heavier. They've since tried to flatten it a little bit. Normally, I can get an applicant because we're a little busier and their incentives may be higher. I will say campus has a pretty excellent incentive structure, but our training is very individualized based on, are they an internal applicant, are they external, what do they know when they come in, and then we really customize our training to that person, so we have a lot of variety.
Nice.
This is Bryn from Whatcom Educational Credit Union, and I'm in the process of trying to get a proposal approved to separate the lending portion or the foreign wires, the type of transactions that take a lot of time off the phone and missed cross-sell opportunities. So have my universal agents take the application but then assign it to a group that's more focused on lending. Is there anyone that's kind of separates those two in a way that, you know, you have your quick universal loading apps, but then giving it to the strong lenders that can look for the cross-sell opportunities and, you know, do all the DocuSign, the stuff that really takes them off the phone?
Hi, this is Jared at Community First Credit Union. I'm the team lead for our lending team. Our setup is split where actually we have a core lending team where all they do is take applications. So instead of just getting a blanket application from a universal agent, all the loan inquiries or loan applications are taken by those people. So they're skilled on the onset so that they're structuring loan appropriately rather than just gathering data. So from the onset, they're coming up with a plan for whatever that member's needs are, but then also working the cross sales right away rather than having someone quick grab their data and then send it off to someone. That way they can build the relationship through the whole application. And then ultimately then the loan either is going to close at a branch location or via email or fax.
This is Jennifer again, and we have that. My agents right now are universal. They take the application, they work it. They have some approval guidelines. If it's out of that, we have to go to central lending. And then it will go to the processor to handle, to prepare the paperwork, get it to the member, disperse the loan if necessary, that type of thing. And I really liked the idea that you just said about perhaps breaking out phone calls between transactions that take a long, long time versus ones that are faster or lending product and sales oriented. My first thought when I heard that was if we were to break out, in my head, kind of more member services versus loans, our tech calls, I mean, we'd almost have to have a third section because you're helping an 80-year-old with online banking, you're on that phone for 30 to 40 minutes.
And my vision is in that department too, it would be the stronger tech individuals. So definitely the online banking and the 80-year-olds, that hit home. We can all feel that one.
Yeah. Okay, but that's a really good thing to consider in just trying to determine universal versus not is time of length of phone calls for each style. I'm glad you pointed that out.
I find in the credit union world we can't really do average call time just because there's so many diversities between the call you get. And as we all know, it's all service driven. We want the best service on every call, so it's not get them off the phone type thing. So yeah, that's kind of my vision. So I'm just wondering if anyone has done something like that, or if you guys some of you are leaning towards that as you become larger and have more members.
This is Jennifer again. I know I'm the talker. We look at average phone call length. It's not really an issue unless I actually have 2 agents that are so slow and thorough, detrimental, but I try not to worry about that because of the campus Q calls or the online banking, and also if they're working really hard to develop that relationship so the member always calls them back, I certainly don't want to fault them for that. And so while we look at it, it's not something we harp on unless it's a really obvious, huge issue. Anyone?
Hey, Jennifer, something else, and I know this is just more work, but as we ask institutions to, or ask credit unions to reply, maybe it would be nice to know what phone metrics people are measuring, from that standpoint too, because we do see that in the listserv come up, every so often of, who's measuring this, who's measuring that. I know there was one yesterday, somebody, I think it was yesterday, people are doing the 80-20, 80-30 rule.
Oh, that's awesome. If you guys want to add that, I think that's great.
That was me, Bryn from Whatcom Educational Credit Union.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone who replied.
Already emailed, but yeah, if you want to email again and add metrics, I will include it for everyone we get. That's awesome. Do you guys as branch managers, are you held, okay, our branch managers are given an annual incentive based on how many months we make our secured goal, an unsecured goal, a mortgage, home equity type goal. And honestly, they get a new account goal. We in here don't. And so I am pitching and trying to see if it's going to be accepted to get an abandon rate call because we were so high the last couple of years, our calls just exploded. Do you guys have any special incentives that y'all look at on the call center side versus the branch?
This is Mari again with American Eagle. We do. We have totally separate. Even though we're like a branch in a way, we're not considered a branch at all, and we just started doing some referral sales goals, but it's not even in the incentive part of it yet. My staff and I are all incentivized annually based on a balanced scorecard, but then each individual has their own goals, and it's all right now pretty much directly related to the abandon rate, the call recording quality, and mystery shops, things like that. And then we're going to add some referral sales for the second half of the year.
Cool, thank you. Anybody? So consensus, your call center is held to the same standards as front office branches or really handled differently? Here, all I hear all the time is the call center is a different animal.
This is Lori with IU Credit Union again. If I have to be honest with you, our call center is, they don't really hold us to any standards because I don't think they really know what to hold us to because I think we are a different animal. It's really hard to find industry standards out there of credit union call centers because you can't compare us to an AT&T call center. It's just not going to work. You can't even really compare us to a bank call center. Bank call centers have been around a lot longer than credit union call centers. We're kind of homebred and we've kind of grown up and trying to make things up as we go. But I think from an incentive standpoint, we have been completely forgotten from an incentive standpoint so we do not incent our call center enough. They can't sell any insurance products because they're not licensed. We tend to put all of our incentives are loan related, which I have no issue with that. But we tend to be more of a problem-solving call center or a troubleshooting call center because we have very techie members that are not very techie. And so we really struggle with that, and I think that's one reason why we can't draw internal employees is because they are making more money on the front line. They don't have to come back and, they have downtime. We don't have downtime. We've kind of been forgotten about, and we're struggling and trying to get their attention and say, hey, guys, we're over here. Don't forget about us. We're kind of, and because they don't really set goals and look at it, it's as long as no one's complaining, then they think the call center's doing fine.
I know, and I want everybody to respond to you, I'm sorry, but I know Amy sent out if we could perhaps do a monthly call. Do you guys want to do incentives next month? And anybody else has a better idea, chime in.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think a monthly call would be cool. Nice to get some perspectives of kind of hear that we're all going through the same thing too.
Very much.
I agree.
Here to get support this way, yeah.
Jennifer, what's your email?
Hi, it's Amy. I just wanted to say, considering your monthly call, if you want to select a date, maybe on this call or email out to the listserv, maybe, if it's about the same time frame, Tuesdays work better, Wednesdays work better. I think if we could maybe set up that structured system, then that'll get easier for everybody to make sure they have it in their calendar. And then I agree with Jennifer. I think if we select a topic that starts out as our basis, one thing I noticed just listening, we really had a talk about, but it kind of went all over the place. So I think you have several topics for several webinars in the future.
Well, middle of the month, this week really works best for me. The first week of the month is always kind of hell.
And Tuesday sometimes, because they fall after the holiday, maybe we could do like the third Thursday of the month.
Cool.
Okay, third Thursday until we hear any pushback that maybe has to have a change for upcoming ones, but we'll start with that. I think that's great.
And then Jennifer, what's your email address so we can send you our info?
It is jwillis, W-I-L-L-I-S, at campuscu.com. Yeah, I can't thank you enough for being nerdy with me because I was really trying to decide how to begin to structure this proposal for my brand new boss.
This is great.
I think you guys did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right, bye.
Okay.
Email you our email address, and then you'll send out the questions you want us to answer?
Yeah, I noted. Well, how about if I write them in the little chat box real fast, and then you send me the information, and I'll send it all back. Is that okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, because I had it, but I had it in 2 emails because I forgot something and we added something else. So I'll go ahead and do that real fast, and then we can go from there. And I'll try to have it out, and I should be able to, but I'll try to have it to you guys maybe the week before our next meeting.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for being.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
I think it is. But yeah, I'm actually on a conference call, so I'll take
Jennifer, are you still on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I don't want to shut down until you've put into the chat what you wanted to accomplish.
Thank you. I was just going back to look at it again. Name of credit union, asset, members, management structure, universal versus divided, and somebody else added something, another thing. What was the other thing that they added?
I heard members. They really wanted to compare members and assets.
Yep.
How many agents? I think how many calls? Oh, what core system? I think that was one.
Oh, that's cool too. Or
Yeah.
let's say core system and phone system.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was the phone, but you're right.
I wanted to know what they're tracking, their standards of
yeah.
system and service levels, how they're tracking a service level or a department. Oh, how do I want to say that?
Scorecard.
Thank you.
Yeah, scorecard.
Standard to be held accounted for. All right. Amy, thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome. I think it worked out great. I'm sorry there's not a hand, option, but I think you guys were very good about, responding and didn't have people stepping on each other. Maybe a time or two people at the same time wanted to, but one always backed up. So I think from a protocol, standpoint or logistics, I thought it sounded really well. And we didn't have much background noise, so I think most everybody followed keeping themselves on mute until they needed to speak. So I think overall it was a great success.
Thank you so much. All right,
Oh, you're welcome. I think the one thing I'm going to explore, because I know when we do best practices when we're at call center, we have somebody that, sits there and scribes the notes so that you can see it while we're talking about it. And then if we could save that just as you're working about trying to put things together for this, I'm wondering if there's a way through the go-to-meeting that we could just have a blank slide or a notepad or something where, we could, one person could agree to be the scribe and just kind of capture the conversation in as best as they can, and then we could email that out. So fairly new to GoToMeeting. I want to see some of its bells and whistles, and maybe by the next meeting I can have some of that to help with just recording, getting the information, and having some sort of a handout for it.
That would be awesome. I know I haven't been able to attend a call center in the last conference in the last couple years, but that was one thing I always was kind of obsessed with people at my table at lunch. Just to really, if I'm holding them to this standard, but they're doing them to somebody else, what's their volume? How does it really compare apples to apples?
Right, right. Okay, well, great. Well, thanks so much for your time. You guys have a great rest of the day who's left on the call.
Thanks, Amy. You also. Bye.
All right, bye.
Online services are live. Well, that's. I'm not sure what you mean, but okay, Jennifer, there we go.